Welcome back to the 715 podcast, everybody. Very special guest, Mr. Kyle Rothbauer, in with us today. Mr. Rothbauer was a gym teacher at Memorial High School with us there for a little bit, and he's kind of our head strength and conditioning coach at Eau Claire Memorial. So, Coach, it's finally great to have you on the podcast, and we're so happy that you can be here today.
Thanks. I appreciate it, gentlemen. Looking forward to it. It's been something I've been watching, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Yeah, thank you. Why don't you go ahead and give yourself a little more in-depth intro, if you will, for kind of who you are and I guess what your new role is kind of around the district, maybe.
Cool. Yeah, new role, to say the least, right? My role actually got changed the day before school started. So, wow. Yeah, things are changing rapidly, right? That's what I keep hearing. But I'm a PE teacher still. However, I'm at Delong Middle School now. So I went from a high school PE teacher for the last 5 years to a middle school PE teacher. And that's fine, no big deal, same exact gig. But this year it's a little bit different because we're virtual, right? So I'm teaching virtual classes, 5 of them a day. I'm supervising a handful of minis, so some of the core teachers can have preps. So essentially we're just a big team over at Delong. So yeah, I got moved there the day before school started, and we're just adjusting on the fly.
Yeah, and that's something that Coach Rothbauer talked about a lot leading up to kind of the school years, just to be able to be flexible. And we would have the team meetings for football, and Coach Rothbauer speaks probably every other week, and he gives a little point like that. And I think there's nobody better to kind of come in and step in and say, hey, you need to be flexible, because then he's like, yeah, that he got thrown in that same boat, and then like the first day of school came and he's like, oh, I got to be over at Delong. So I think we do definitely appreciate when you come on and give us those little pointers and stuff like that, and now you're finally living kind of those points that you're trying to make too. But how has the transition been over at Delong? How different is it? And let's just say from high school to middle school, how different is it?
So I think the biggest thing that's different, obviously, this year is the virtual aspect, right? Mm-hmm. We're not with our students face to face. So that's something that I really was never prepared for. It's kind of interesting because you're in a weird line where you want to be able to see the kids and you want to be able to chat with them and you want to be able to have those interactions. But at the same time, on days when we're doing workouts, like I understand they don't want to be on camera, zoomed in, huffing and puffing. Like that doesn't make sense either. So a lot of times we're explaining what to do and we're showing them what to do, and then they turn their cameras off, we turn our cameras off, and we just reconnect in 15 minutes.
Okay.
So that's been kind of interesting. And then in terms of getting to know students, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily think it's completely crazy, but the fact that you can't see anything more than eyes, I mean, you have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there now. I've been at the school for 6 weeks, and we see students who are in other classes. We don't have face-to-face for PE, but I still see students who are in other classes, and I don't recognize any of them. I walk by the same kids all the time, and I'm like, man, I see your eyes. And that's all that I can see. And me too, right? They've never seen me before. So walking around in there, they're probably like, man, who's this guy? So yeah, that's been weird. Getting to know students and building relationships is just completely different than it's ever been before.
Yeah, and especially virtually too, because I think it would be different to build relationships at the middle school level, even if we were in person, because they're a little less social and a little more kind of awkward. It's those awkward stages of middle school that you're going through. But then to have it all virtual too, I couldn't imagine what that'd be like, because I only have one virtual class, and it's Spanish, which is a pretty difficult virtual class, I would say. But I'd say the hardest virtual class would probably have to be gym, because like, how do you grade participation on kids? And
yeah, it's wild. I mean, it is, right? At the end of the day, you have to trust them. I mean, that's something that's been really important, because I'm going to give them assignments or I'm going to give them workouts to complete, and I have to just listen to what they say in terms of if they finished or not, right? Yeah, I finished them. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I don't know for a fact that they did it, but I've been pretty trusting. So it's been interesting, to say the least. I hope it doesn't last forever this way. That's for sure. Yeah,
for sure. And actually, I think there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, where they had a meeting last night where winter sports are supposed to go through, and we're supposed to play winter sports. I don't know if you heard about that yet, but my mom was at the meeting, and North parents and Memorial parents got together and they met, and so there is a little bit of light there, and hopefully I'm hoping for like a second semester, 5 days in person. But
awesome.
Man,
awesome.
We just gotta hope and pray for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you said earlier about being flexible and being able to adjust on the fly, it takes a completely different meaning when you personally are the one who has to do it. I mean, I can say things all the time like, yeah, you need to be flexible, you need to be ready to roll. But then as soon as, when I got the call that said, hey, you're going to Delong Monday, I just couldn't even speak for like 5 minutes. I was no idea how to react to that. But I mean, you can take a couple of minutes to be upset or be disappointed, but then you gotta get ready to roll. So the most important thing for me is just making sure that I'm still providing some sort of impact on my students.
Yeah.
I want them to know that I care about them, and I'm willing to do whatever the district wants me to when it comes to PE. So yeah, I'm excited that I'm still a part of it, but certainly adjusting every day still.
Yeah.
Do you know any other teachers who had that similar scenario?
Yes.
Switching schools?
Yeah, actually a ton. So when I got that call on Friday, I can't remember if it was 40 or 60. I mean, the number was huge, where I was told like, yeah, you and 40 other teachers are moving today.
Jeez.
So yeah, it was wild. And every time I was like sitting around sulking and feeling bad about, oh, why did I have to move? There was like 3 other teachers who had to do way worse.
Yeah.
There was a teacher who was an elementary PE teacher for the last 30 years. And now he's doing part health, he's doing part high school, he's doing part virtual. I mean, he's pulled in a million different directions. Wow. So, I mean, I'm sure he's really, really struggling to adjust and just figure out the technology component. So, yeah, as soon as I started feeling bad for myself, I had to check myself really quickly because there's people in much, much more difficult scenarios than me.
Yeah, and then you talk about the impact a little bit that you've made on your students, and I would say you're definitely one of the people that have made an impact on me throughout the district and throughout people who have been impactful in my life. And what do you think is something that kind of drives that passion to make an impact and do that, kind of be that figure that's like that positivity or that flexibility that you show through? How do you think that you can translate that through virtual learning, and then kind of how this new schedule is for you at Delong?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. I mean, that does mean a lot. At the end of the day, the reason you go into education, hopefully, is to impact students and to build relationships with students when they need it. Yeah. And there's a lot of students who come from, whether it's home lives or part of certain teams where they don't necessarily fit in, and you just have to be there for them. It's really kind of a unique occupation because you're with so many different people, so many different styles of kids, people who love sports, hate sports, people who love music, hate music, right? You're with all kinds of different people. So me personally, I just wanted to be able to be there for as many people as possible. And I've always been kind of a social, outgoing guy. So being able to translate that to teaching has been, I don't want to say an easy transition, but an enjoyable transition. Yeah. And then the thing that teachers, I hope I can speak for all of us, is the things that we love to see is when you have students maybe as middle schoolers or young high schoolers, and they grow tremendously in 4 years. I mean, guys like you and guys like people who you see start, who have all kinds of potential, and they're great freshmen, and then sophomores even better, and then when they're juniors, you're like, man, that's such a good kid, and then they elevate even more as seniors. Like, that's really, really awesome. I think that's really cool, and hopefully I can just continue to be somebody who can chat with these kids, if they ever need anything or if they ever need to talk about anything. I just want to be there, and for everybody. I think we're in a unique time, not just in schooling, but in our world, right? Yeah. Where it's so easy to have polarizing views and so easy to disagree with folks. And a lot of times you see those things cause tensions and cause relationships to completely dissolve. And I just want to let kids know and let adults know for that matter too, is that regardless of how you feel, if you agree with me or disagree with me, I'm going to be the same person. I'm still going to hopefully be inviting to you and let you know that I'm still here to chat with you and things like that. So I want to provide that for kids too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Why don't you then talk kind of about what your second life is outside of the district at 13th Strong that you have over there? That's the morning lifting session that a bunch of us football players have been in at Monday through Thursday now. So how did that kind of get started and stuff like that?
So, yeah, that's been a really enjoyable part-time gig for me. And I say part-time kind of, with a grain of salt because I'm there a lot. So what it is it's a small personal training and group training facility. It's 1,600 square feet. It's located right off of Hastings Way here in Eau Claire. And I started that with my friend Alex Mortensen back in 2015. We essentially were training out of a garage, and we needed a place to go. So we opened that place and slowly grew. So right now it actually looks marginally put together in terms of the equipment and the flooring and stuff like that. When we first started, I bought 2 old squat racks off of Craigslist for like $50. There was no flooring. It was completely concrete. I found one barbell on a Black Friday sale or something like that. And so we started from very, very humble beginnings. And it's just cool to see how it's grown. Yeah. And then obviously, groups like the morning group and some other groups that we have after school keeps me pretty busy. So that's exciting. It's neat how the gym and teaching kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
A lot of our clients at the gym are students that have had in the past or athletes that have coached in the past. So it's just cool to kind of merge those two together. But yeah, I'm a pretty busy guy. After school, I head there for a few hours and try to, be with as many kids as possible and then get home. I have a little baby at home and my wife's having another baby in December. So I've got to make sure that I'm managing my time well. But again, it's enjoyable. So if it wasn't, I certainly wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Dang. I never knew you started off like that. I guess I kind of just assumed it looked like what it kind of looks like now, but
hey, well, it still kind of looks like it's just starting, right?
No,
there's still some parts of it where you're like, wait a minute. But no, if you saw the original photos,
and it's getting bigger too. You're kind of absorbing into the Momentum baseball academy there.
Yeah.
So you're adding square footage and
that's kind of breaking news, man. That was you just kind of we kind of dropped a bomb. No, it's totally fine. You got to bring some clickbait to the old podcast. But no, we're going to Momentum Baseball Academy is building a new place, and they're moving in here at the end of the year. Beautiful place off of Claremont, and we're fortunate enough to be able to take over their square footage as well. Yeah, so we'll be adding about 3,000 square feet here December or January, depending on how quickly their building comes to completion.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, man. I really think it's going to be awesome. We'll be able to train and sprint indoors. Yeah. It's so hard to do that in Wisconsin, especially with the schools being shut down this year. So yeah, I'm excited to be able to do that.
Okay, I wanted to ask kind of a question going off what you said on how like the school and the morning sessions at 13th Strong or any sessions at 13th Strong go hand in hand. You think it's kind of more impactful now that you're at 13th Strong because we are virtual and you're not getting that fulfillment of in-person kind of I guess interactions?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question, and I think you guys obviously can answer that a lot better than me.
Yeah.
Even I couldn't imagine being in high school and not having sports or extracurricular activities and things that you've spent so much of your time doing. So I certainly think there's more interest now. I think that there's a lot more people who are looking for something formal and something that they can do to continue to train. So yeah, this has been our busiest year ever, no question about it. I mean, virtually with schools, the weight room shut down after school, weight room shut down in the mornings. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited that we've been able to have so many people in there. Yeah, it's been cool. I mean, the training is different, right? It's not your typical. I always use the word typical, right? It's not your typical training environment. Even now, I mean, we're wearing masks and we're following social distancing rules and things like that. And it's much different than it has been in the past. But I think it only took maybe a day or two to come up with those adjustments.
Yeah.
And, you're still able to get some pretty quality work in there in a short amount of time. So, yeah, it's been cool. And I think the virtual component, like you mentioned, with schools has certainly made us much more, I don't know about much more desired, but much busier. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then you talk about the training aspect, too, a little bit different how it has been different, and we're kind of not using any barbells, and I think I've really liked the transition we've made into the anti-ankle or the ankle bone high and stuff like that, and just all the GOTA stuff and the Ric Flair walks we get to do in the mornings. And could you talk a little bit of how important it is for athletes especially to focus on keeping their legs bowed and their ankles high and stuff like that, and kind of that philosophy you've tried to emphasize into your kind of programming?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's something that's been completely different this year than ever before. And the reason why is because it was really important for me to sit back and evaluate our students and look at what's important. Right, the best ability. You heard this. You heard this earlier with LeBron last week. The best ability is availability. Right, you have to be able to play. You have to be healthy. And we were having some injuries, little injuries. We had some hammies here and there, things like that. But we also had some of those catastrophic ACL injuries. And I've always been a little naive to say like my training prevents injuries, and I think it does. But I think the style of training is really important. So I was able to do a little mentorship type with GLS, Go to Locomotive Systems. It's a place down in Louisiana, and they talk about inside ankle bone high and talk about having bow shapes. So essentially what a bow shape is our knees are always pointing out instead of in. So we're preventing those valgus injuries. As far as inside ankle bone high goes, it means that we are planting on the outer edge of our foot and we're distributing our weight to the outside as opposed to the inside. What they do is they study movement at really, really slow motion with slow motion videos, and they've determined that every single ACL and every single Achilles catastrophic injury happens from inside edge, where we're rotating in. And if we train like that, then we're probably going to do that when we play. So I'm trying to implement a lot of their stuff and keep our kids healthy. Have you noticed your backs feels good, your knees feel good, stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't think I've felt any knee pain since we've started. And usually when we are in doing our cleans and our front squats, I do kind of notice a little bit of just soreness and kind of like the tendonitis feeling, I guess. And that has not happened at all this season. No
that's
back.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and I still feel like I'm getting something out of it too. It's not like we're just kind of leveling off. I've been getting faster. I'm the fastest I've ever been. I'm starting to weigh as much as I've ever weighed, and it's definitely been making a big impact on my training, and I think it'll keep us healthy too, because we just actually had a kid who had an injury where it could have been like an ACL thing, and you say that the training could prevent it, and it probably did, because his knee went in and he didn't tear his ACL. And so I mean, it's definitely showing that it does work and does have impacts. So
cool. No, that's great. And at the end of the day, when I was talking to Gary, the guy who I was working with, I always ask him, I said, what do you use for assessment to show that things are getting better and this program's working? And he said the easiest assessment is just ask the athletes. Do you feel better? Yep. Are you moving faster? Yep. Are you healthy? Yep. Right? It's always yes all the time. So I've implemented a ton of that, and I plan to continue with that. The first couple of weeks is always hard for kids because they're like, oh man, we're not going to back squat heavy. We're not going to clean really heavy. No, but we're going to do other things that are going to make us stronger, make us faster, and most importantly, keep us healthy. Yeah. So yeah, it's been fun. It really has, and I've enjoyed learning new things too.
Why don't we talk a little bit about the Braves then,
Oh.
and the tear that your team's been going on? I think the last 4 days I've seen you in your different Braves jerseys. So kind of talk about how you became a Braves fan, Coach, and how that kind of started.
So the funny thing about these Braves jerseys is every year since I was in high school, literally high school, the second playoff baseball starts, if the Braves are in it, I'm wearing a Braves jersey. No questions about it, right?
That's
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every single day. And I'll wear it until they win the World Series this year. Let's hope, right? If they lose, I'll stop too. But yeah, I'm a diehard Braves fan. My senior pictures in high school, I had all my Braves jerseys in the background. So yeah, you guys don't quite do the props like we used to back in the early 2000s, but yeah, man, it looked sharp. I had Braves jerseys all over the wall.
That's sweet.
But my father grew up a Braves fan. He was always a Braves fan growing up, and then when we got old enough to start liking baseball, we just became Braves fans too.
Yeah.
So, and I think MLB TV has one of the coolest subscription options where you can get a league pass and watch literally every single game. So last year I watched 162 games. Yeah, my wife says the same thing. Everywhere we are, I've got the phone up if I can't watch it on my TV. I love it, right?
Yeah.
I love the Braves. They're so fun to watch. And then this year with the shortened season, 60 games, I watch every single one and watch every single playoff game, and it's been cool. And I mean, you guys know, based on watching sports, when your team is winning, there's nothing like it, right? There's nothing like it. So I've been hyped these last couple of weeks watching the Braves cruise through the playoffs. So
yeah, that's sweet.
Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah. They're playing the Dodgers right now, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's them and the Dodgers to go. Is it to go to the World Series?
It is, yeah.
Wow.
And the Dodgers are everybody's pick, right? Everybody thought the Dodgers are gonna finally win this year, and the Braves are up 2-0 right now. So let's see.
Yeah.
The Braves, 3 of their 5 starting pitchers from day one are no longer with the team. So, I mean, when that happened, a lot of people are like, oh, man, the Braves are going to fall off. But no, we've had some good veteran leadership and some rookies pitching well, and it's been awesome.
And then you talked a little bit about the subscription there. What about the WWE subscription? How about we get a little bit into that talk? You got me hooked on the WWE, Coach, and I'm not blaming you for anything, but I love it, and I'm hooked. I'm a WWE Network member now, too, and let's just start with let's say your Mount Rushmore. We were talking about this a little bit this morning. So how about your top 4 WWE wrestlers of all time?
That's awesome, right? Anytime you can sit around and talk about professional wrestling, and you've heard me talk with Coach Sands too, man. Professional wrestlers are the best athletes on the planet.
Yep.
You can't possibly convince me otherwise. The showmanship and the athletics is just top notch. But I've been watching wrestling as long as I can remember. Back when pay-per-views were, you literally had to record them on a VHS. Like, they'd go so late, my parents made me go to bed. We'd record them on VHS, and I'd watch them the next day. That's how I started watching wrestling. But my Mount Rushmore, let's see. So I would say almost everybody's going to agree with The Rock and Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Okay, those are two. I mean, even if you don't watch wrestling, you know The Rock and Stone Cold. So let's for just to make it exciting, let's eliminate those two guys completely. Right? They're on everybody's. So we got to go different direction. Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg is on mine. I loved Goldberg. He carried the WCW era in the late 90s. I watched that all the time. My warm-up shirt in track and the shirt I wore under my pads in football in high school was Bill Goldberg.
Nice.
Yeah. So Bill Goldberg's on that list. Scott Steiner. Do you know who Scott Steiner is?
I've never heard him.
Okay, so if you've never heard of Scott Steiner, you have to Google image Scott Steiner.
Okay.
And he was just jacked. I mean, jacked, like the biggest dude ever. And he wrestled in college at Michigan, so he was a really good amateur wrestler too. And then when he got to WWE and WWF, he was just a mountain of a man. So you got to look him up. He was awesome. I also like Randy Orton. We talked about that this morning. Randy Orton, a guy who has been in the business for 20 plus years, and
his dad was in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Randy Orton, I mean, he's mid to upper 40s, and he's just a specimen.
Yeah,
right? He just is an absolute beast. So
the RKO.
Yeah, exactly. And then Ric Flair, right? Ric Flair, no question about it. You know, Ric Flair is certainly in my Mount Rushmore. He's the 16-time world champion, still has the record, him and John Cena. And nobody will be able to be as high on my list in terms of just character than Ric Flair. I mean, he made wrestling cool. I mean, ESPN did a 30 for 30 on Ric Flair because he's that cool. So, that's my top 4, man. Get rid of The Rock and Stone Cold and add those 4 guys, and you got a pretty nasty team.
Man, that just makes me happy to just talk about it. Jackson, are you a big watcher? You a big consumer in the WWE over there? Do you think you could even name a top 4?
Probably not.
No? Okay. What do you think of it? What do you think of pro wrestling, Jackson?
Are
you not as high on it as we are?
Not really. No, I mean, from some of the the YouTube highlight clips, they're usually the highlights. They're never actually wrestling. It's just the showmanship of the whole program.
Yeah.
But whatever bits I see, they're usually really entertaining.
Okay.
But, yeah.
And that's the thing, entertainment, right? Yeah. That's people, and the biggest thing that gets me with professional wrestling is everybody's always like, oh man, it's fake.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know what else is fake? Every single movie you've ever seen, every single TV show you've ever seen. It's fake. The outcomes are predetermined, but the storyline is awesome.
Yeah.
That you have to be an athlete. I mean, there's no question about that. I obviously joke. I don't think they're probably the best athletes in the world, but they're athletes nonetheless. I remember when I first started doing some strength conditioning stuff, I would always watch John Cena and Triple H. Some of those guys have hit like unbelievable numbers in the gym. Yeah. Triple H is raw bench over 500 pounds. And you're in a very elite company when you've done that. John Cena at 38 years old can still snatch 140 kilos. I mean,
that's insane.
Yeah, you're talking about some pretty elite strength numbers from these wrestlers. So, it's awesome. Jackson, your feeling on WWE is pretty similar to my wife's. She's actually much worse than you, I think. I think she understands, and she knew what she was getting into when we got married, but she was hoping I'd grow out of it, I think. But you don't do it. You never grow out of it, man. I'll be a WWE fan forever. So I was telling Grant this morning, I caught her watching WWE last night after the Braves game got done. She said it was just because she didn't know where the remote was, but I think we're turning her into a fan. So let's hope for that, anyways.
Yeah, it definitely turned me into a fan. So it's been a fun. I would say it's probably been like almost a year now. Probably I've been a fan. It was probably the start of that strength and conditioning one with you at Memorial last year. So I think, and it's been so fun. I've got 2 T-shirts. I got an Undertaker shirt and a Ultimate Warrior shirt. So I'm starting to get on the bandwagon of the apparel and stuff like that.
Good for you.
Yeah, and you have your own Memorial Championship.
Yes,
belt.
I do. I made my own MHS World Heavyweight belt and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so awesome. It's just so awesome. I hope that COVID season can get done here and we can get back to watching live events.
Yeah.
I've been to live sporting events, in every major sport, but I went to WrestleMania 3 years ago in Orlando, and nothing like it. Nothing like it at all.
So insane.
Yeah, 80,000 people,
Yeah.
and it was just so cool. So yeah, I hope you can take your fandom to the next level and check out a live event.
Yeah, hopefully, because that's what a big part of it is that the fan interaction between the athletes in the ring and people in the crowd is really intense compared to some other sports, and they really buy into that, and the fans buy in, and you got a lot of fans like Coach Rothbauer and I that go and get hyped up when the music hits or the lights turn off. So
I always say, like, I'm a huge WWE fan, and I am, right? I love WWE. But when I was at WrestleMania, some of those fans, I'm nowhere near as great of a fan as those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they truly live the WWE lifestyle. You see guys in full wardrobe. If one of their favorite wrestlers loses, they're like crying. Grown men do it. So I'm not quite there yet, but man, I love the sport. I really, really love the sport.
Yeah.
The part about wrestling that's so funny is that now I think this is a perfect time to be a wrestling fan because everything is so much more widely accepted, right? People can be different. I would say when I was in high school and I was watching wrestling all the time, we used to get together for WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles, and I'd bring a bunch of my buddies over and we'd watch it. And nobody really liked it.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, this is what you watch? This is wrestling?" Like, that wasn't real. That punch wasn't real.
Yeah.
People can't get past the fact that all that stuff isn't real.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now I think it's going to be much more widely accepted.
Yeah.
And certainly for me, I think Coach Sins, we're going to get Coach Sins to turn over a new leaf and start liking wrestling too.
It sounded like he was like right there during high school where he was kind of watching it, couldn't buy in, and now he's kind of like gone past where he's not. But I think we could flip the script on him.
It's the taboo wrestling fan thing, right? You can't be a wrestling fan. You have to understand that it's not real. But no, I think he'll come around.
Yeah.
So I know what we could talk about. What else do I spend most of my time doing? Playing softball.
Oh yeah.
That's
I don't know how I forgot about that.
That's a big one.
Slow pitch softball. And you're in a league right now, right?
Yeah. So we're in a tournament season, I should
Okay.
say. Yeah. So this year I didn't play any leagues. Usually leagues are local stuff where you get together with some of your buddies and you play, and those have kind of a bad rap too. People are always thinking that, oh, those are just bar leagues and stuff like that. But our team, our league team, teams that we've had like that haven't been that style. And then the teams that we play tournaments with, we travel all over the place. So this year we had our national tournament in Kansas, and then we had a tournament. Another national tournament in Mankato. We were in Milwaukee last week. So, we travel quite a bit. This is our last tournament of the year in Boston this weekend. Yeah.
On the turf there.
On the turf. So, championship game is 10:30 p.m. And it's supposed to be 22 degrees and snowing. So, thank goodness it's our last outdoor tournament. But, anytime I get to play softball, that's
So how does your team get? Is it people around Eau Claire, or who's made up on that team?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
We have people from the area. We have a couple people from Chippewa. We have a person from Bloomer. My cousin is from Appleton, and he plays with us.
Okay.
My brother Alex plays with us. He lives in Cadet right now. So, for the most part, around here.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've played with the same guys for the last handful of years.
And so why slow pitch softball and not just like men's league baseball? What's the draw to softball that's different from baseball?
So I've never really played baseball before.
Okay.
I'm a huge Braves fan. I watch all Braves games, but I quit playing baseball when I was in 7th grade. My dad was our track coach, and I ran track in high school. So I didn't play baseball. Now stepping in to play baseball, I don't even. I was watching Carson in the cage. They had the pitching machine going last week, and I think it was only going like 70, and I'm back there jumping.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, it's only 70. So I know for a fact I couldn't step in and play baseball. The thing I like about softball is the ball is always pitched underhand. It's a hitter's game.
Yeah.
So I've spent a lot of time hitting BP and things like that. And I really love the fact that you can put in time to get better at it. I don't have a strong arm. I'm not blazing fast. I don't have any of the natural skills that softball players or baseball players for that matter have, but I've worked really hard at hitting, and I've gotten much better at it, and that's something that's exciting to me.
And there's kind of some weird rules when it comes to slow pitch softball, right? Where you can't hit home runs every time. There's
Correct.
like a limit your team can hit.
Yeah. So depending on what the tournament rules are, or what level you're playing, sometimes you get 1 an inning.
Okay.
Sometimes you get 2 an inning. Sometimes you get 3 a whole game. So there's some strategy there.
Dang.
And people... slow pitch softball is kind of like professional wrestling, where people see slow pitch softball and they're like, oh man, I've just hit a home run every time. There's strategy there.
Yeah.
You actually have to play the game the right way. So that's something else that has really been an adjustment for me. When I first started, I was probably, I've played for 5 or 6 years now, so I was 25, 26, and I thought home runs were everything too. I would play in a league game on a Wednesday night, and hey, I was 4 for 4 with 4 home runs. And then you get to a tournament, and you can only hit 3 in the whole game. Yeah. So you hit 1 solo, and the team hates you for the rest of the day. So yeah, I had to adjust and work on hitting base hits and hitting line drives and stop just blasting the ball over the fence.
Which sometimes as a baseball player feels almost as good as a home run when you're, let's say there's just a runner on third and you get a base rip opposite field because you got to go with the pitch, and then that guy scores and you're like, yeah, I did exactly what I was supposed to do with that pitch. That's very rewarding. And it does take a lot of skill not to just be able to hit a home run, I'm guessing, every time, because there are some bats, and you've been kind of using some different bats and getting some high velos off those bats. But yeah, I guess the home run aspect of slow pitch softball and not being able to hit home runs, it does take more skill than I think people realize.
I would say that with the bats we use today and the balls we use today, 98% of people could step up there and blast one out if they wanted to, right? It's the home run. It's not automatic. You still have to hit it clean, but the home run's not that hard. But can you step up there and hit a backside double, right? Can you step up there and hit a gap when there's no home runs left to use? That's hard. Yeah. It's tough. And I think that's what separates the good hitters from just power hitters who can just step up there and blast away. But yeah, I would say, so that's another hobby of mine is hitting BP and testing out a bunch of bats. Yeah. So I was telling you before this started, I'm in the process of starting our YouTube channel. Long Ball BP is what it's called. And it was kind of ironic that I just got done talking about how you don't always want to hit the long ball. But when you're on camera and you can hit a ball 108 miles an hour off a tee, or you're on camera and you can hit a ball 450 feet, like, that's what people want to see. So, yeah, our YouTube channel is just going to be bat reviews, and a couple of my buddies are getting together and hitting. I was talking to you about that this morning, man. Over the winter, you'll have to come in there and test out some of these slow pitch bats.
It'll be weird because it's different than baseball, where the bats are a little shaped a little different. They weigh a little less, and the balls are definitely different. Big neon balls that.
Right.
I mean, it'd be fun to just go out there and I'll come and try to get 100 or 105, because I think the highest I've ever hit is like close to, I think, 98 with baseball.
Which is gas. And I don't know the difference, right? I don't know if slow pitch exit velos are faster. I would guess probably, right?
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. But I know your guys' bats are governed a little bit more, so they're meant to be safer, I think.
Yeah.
The nice thing about baseball is there's a pitcher who's ripping it at you, right?
Yeah.
So if you can hit a 80, 85, whatever mile an hour pitch it is, you can create some exit velo with that.
Yeah.
Softball, every single pitch is 12 miles an hour, underhand, 12 miles an hour. So we're not getting much from the pitch, but the bats and the balls that we use are gas. So yeah, we've seen some 108s off the tee.
Jeez.
Yeah. So that's
so insane.
Yeah, and we're playing ASA or USA, which is still one step below U-Trip. Like U-Trip softball, I've seen some 120s and some 121s.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and pitchers get blasted. They do. They pitch and boom, you can't get out of the way. So it's a interesting game. A lot of fun.
And so how many different kind of styles of bats would you test out?
So there's brands, kind of like
is
shoes.
It similar to baseball, where there's probably like 4 or 5 main brands?
I would guess so.
There? Okay.
I would guess so. I don't think there's a ton of overlap. So in slow pitch softball, in ASA, what we play now, Monster is the most popular bat. You probably never even heard of that.
No.
Yeah, so that's the most popular. They haven't been around that long, so just the last 5 years or however long it's been. Mazda's really popular, and then DeMarini. So does DeMarini still have good baseball bats?
Yeah, I've swung a DeMarini in the past. Those are usually that's the best. So going through baseball, you have your drop 8 stages and then you have your drop 5. So that's like the weight minus the length, or the length minus the weight. I don't remember which one it is, but you got your drop 5s, and then like drop 3s is what we use in high school. And they had an insane drop 5 bat where it sounded like an artificial noise, ding, when the ball would just fly. I've hit the furthest home run I've ever hit with a drop 5, and it just carried, and it was the best feeling in the world, because they have the sweet spots, and I'm sure it's on like that on softball.
Oh, yeah.
And if you even were close to the sweet spot on this bat, it was a home run.
Is that what Gavin was talking about this morning when he said, "I'm going to bring in a drop 5 for you"?
Probably. That's
Okay.
probably the one that you should. I want to bring that one in. They break really easy, so it like has an internal thing that like rattles now because it's broken. But I guarantee you could probably get 105 off of it. It's insane.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I would say DeMarini is probably the most overlap between softball and baseball. Mikan, there's no baseball.
No, never heard of that.
Mikan. Worth, have you heard of Worth?
No.
Okay, yeah, so I figured there wasn't very many.
Yeah, not much.
Remember the old axe bat?
Yeah.
Yeah, so softball used to have an axe bat. They still have one, but nobody swings it. But yeah, that was one too. So, and then Dudley is a brand that I'm going to swing quite a bit this winter. Yeah, again, you've never heard of these probably, but you'll be able to check them out. I think when next time you're at the gym and we've got the tee going, give it a good whirl. So yeah, it's pretty fun. It's enjoyable.
And so, how did the hobby on softball pick up about 5 years ago? Was it just something that you thought you'd go out and try, or?
I had nothing else to do,
Okay.
right? I think that's kind of the transition that you have to make from being a high school athlete. And then when I went to college, I didn't play any formal sports, but I played a ton of intramurals and a ton of rec sports. And then once college was done, I didn't have anything to compete in. And I've always been a pretty competitive guy, so I wanted to find something. And then I was just, I had God-given power, which was something that I just naturally had, and I was hitting the ball out of the park, and I was like, man, this is really cool. So I just kept hitting the ball out of the park, and I thought that I was such a great hitter because I was hitting all these home runs. I remember it was yesterday. The guy who actually runs our team now is a really, really good player. He played in the conference, which is the highest level of softball that you can play. He was a really, really good player. But I was at a local tournament here in Altoona, and I was every swing was just trying to hit it into the woods, right? Just blast it away. And then he came up to me after the game, and he's like, "Hey, I see you have a little bit of power. Have you ever played much formal softball?" "No, just this, And he's like, "Well, let's hit BP." Okay, so he's like, come to Fairfax, which is the baseball field here in town. Yeah. Let's hit, next week and see how you hit. Okay, awesome. So I remember like my first 10 swings, I'm just swinging for the barn, blasting balls into the road. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm impressing this guy. This guy thinks I'm awesome. Then he's pitching, and he's like, all right, now hit a gap, backside gap. I was like, what's backside gap? He's like, hit it over there, hit it between first and second base. I'm right-handed, man. I can't do that. That's for lefties. I didn't know. I'd never played any formal baseball before. So, to go from no formal baseball and then play softball and having to learn those things. So I looked like a fool for the next, 30 minutes. Couldn't get the ball over to the other side of the field. But I think that right there was the most important part of my softball game, because I realized there's so much more than just blasting it out of the park.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've worked really hard now, and I would say that backside is probably where I'm hitting most of my hits.
Yeah.
So,
dang, that's awesome. And it just makes me happy too, because I think back to just like the base hits I've gotten backside, opposite field, and it's a good feeling to just get a base rip and kind of jog it out. You did your job. So
yeah, there's nothing like that. And you said it earlier, where when you hit the ball exactly where you're trying to hit it, that's just so sweet.
Yeah. And
it happens like that in softball too. Even though they're pitching underhand and it's slow, you still have to hit it exactly where you're trying to hit it. So yeah, that's fun.
Could you talk a little bit more of what you did in high school, like some of your extracurriculars and kind of how you consumed some of your time besides having your buddies over and trying to convince them to the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, so I when I say I have my buddies over, I should probably backtrack a little bit there too. So I was like the one guy in high school who we didn't have cable. I don't. You guys all have cable, right? Like everybody has cable TV now. We didn't have any cable, so I had to. My uncle always had cable, and we'd always go over there. My buddies would come over there and watch it. So, but no, when I was in high school, I played all kinds of sports. That was essentially what I spent most of my time doing. I played football, I played track, or I ran track, and then I wrestled and played basketball. So I actually only wrestled my freshman year, and then I didn't do anything my sophomore year, and then I started playing basketball my junior year. So
cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Again, remember when I was talking earlier where I said the things that I love now as a 31-year-old, I just was too cool to love back in high school. Yeah. I wrestled my whole entire life. I started wrestling when I was really, really young. My dad wrestled in college, so wrestling was a really big part of my family. My father got deployed when I was a freshman, so he went to Iraq. And when he went to Iraq, I decided to quit wrestling. Just decided, like, I'm not going to wrestle anymore. And so I didn't wrestle anymore from my freshman year all the way through high school. Well, then when I got to college, I went to University of Minnesota, and it was a really big wrestling school. Yeah. And I started watching college wrestling again and started going to their duels and going to the Big Ten tournament. Yeah. And I was like, man, I love wrestling. So ever since college, I started watching college wrestling and amateur wrestling a ton. And then I coached wrestling at Memorial. I would still say, wrestling is one of my favorite sports. But in high school, sophomore to senior year, I didn't do it.
Wow. Were you there during when Brock Lesnar was at Minnesota, or were you a little bit after?
I was a little after that. Okay. But there's a huge poster of Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's still, I mean, he's in his early 40s, but he's still like a hero, a wrestling hero at U of M. Yeah, everywhere you go, when you talk about Gopher wrestling, you still talk about Brock Lesnar. Have you ever seen what he looked like in college?
Yeah, I watched the national championship where
he won in overtime.
In overtime, he just won 1-0, right? Yep, it was against Penn State, I think.
Was it against Penn State or was it against Iowa? I can't remember. Yeah, I really don't remember who he was wrestling. I think Brock was one of those guys who's just such a spectacle, right? Yeah. You don't even remember who he was wrestling because he was just such a unit. So yeah, he was awesome. But yeah, he was gone before I was there.
Dang. And then how was your time so what did you go to study at when you were at the U of M there?
So I originally went for chemical engineering.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I ever told you guys that.
No, I've never.
So 1 year I was a chemical engineering student my freshman year, and then I decided to change majors and I transferred back to Eau Claire after that.
Okay.
And then once I got to Eau Claire, I changed from engineering to I was athletic trainer for my first year. And then I switched to human performance, and then I switched to education, and then I finally switched to physical education. So cool. I changed my major a million times.
That's cool.
When people would come up to our high school and be like, yeah, most people change their major 4, 5, 6 times. I was like, no, I'm not changing my major. Sure enough, 2 or 3 years in, I'd already changed my major 5 times. So
yeah.
But yeah, so I was chemical engineering, and then I changed to PE.
Wow, I never knew that about you. That's interesting.
Well, my father was a math teacher in high school. I don't know if you guys knew that either. He was a math teacher, so we loved math at my house. We would ever since we were little. We were always doing math, and I had a chemistry teacher in high school who I really liked too. So I loved math and I loved chemistry. So I was like, chemical engineering, man, that sounds right. It was crazy tough for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most humbling years of my life was my freshman year at University of Minnesota, because I didn't study really hard in high school, and I didn't have a lot of advanced placement or AP class opportunity things that we have fortunately now. And so I was like, oh man, high school was easy. College will be easy.
Yeah.
I couldn't be any more wrong, man. It was really, really tough. So I had to study really hard, and I was still pulling grades that were significantly worse than they were in high school. So yeah, it was tough, and it was very, very humbling. I had to completely change my approach when it comes to school or studying in college.
Yeah. Wow. I never knew chemical engineering was what you originally wanted to go do. That's cool.
Yeah.
Always learning something new.
I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But every now and then I'll talk with my wife and be like, I wonder if I should have stuck that out.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know. It was nerdy, right? And I loved that. I loved science and I loved math, and it was, you're always thinking. You know, and PE, I love being active and I love working with kids and things like that. But there are times where it's not you don't have to do a ton of thinking, right? So I find myself in lulls where I'm not learning stuff. And that's why it was cool to be able to work with Gary over the winter where I was learning a new style of training. But yeah, you go through lulls where you're not learning things. And I think that's something that I would encourage you guys to continue to always do, right? I always learn things, I always get new hobbies, and I always make sure that you're continuing to push yourself. And engineering, man, that was a push. I think I kind of gave up a little early, maybe. If I went back now, I'd have to start at algebra. start with the basics. I haven't done formal math in 12 years.
Wow. You want to talk about Milo a little bit?
Yeah, Milo.
Milo?
Yeah.
Oh, see?
Yeah, so nobody knows, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I was talking about earlier. My business partner and I, Alex Martinson is his name. Him and his wife moved to Fort Myers, Florida about, almost 4 years ago now. It's been a while. But while he was there, he met a couple of people who work in computer programming and app design, things like that. And he had an idea to start a virtual training platform where coaches, trainers, influencers could have one space where they develop their programming and then distribute it to their clients.
Nice.
It was a way for you to maximize the amount of people that you interact with, maximize the amount of people that you help, maximize the amount of people who you can work with and train with. So that program is called Milo. Trainwithmilo.com is our website. Right now, there's a lot of just blogs on there where Alex or myself write about training or write about a couple of other things. And then we're hopefully going to launch within the next month or two.
Okay.
That's a tentative start date. Hopefully within the next month or two, we can get that rolling. So I'm excited to chat more about it once we actually get it going. You know, we'll be able to see how we use it and how we interact with other folks, and then we'll be able to, have more details. As of now, we're still waiting, right? We're still waiting to see what it looks like.
Cool. That's all I didn't even really know what it was, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, and it's hard to explain other than it's a virtual training platform for coaches and trainers and influencers and stuff like that.
Which sounds perfect now because you don't have to go to big meetings and
we had some people who we work with or some of our friends who are also personal trainers, and they do all one-on-one stuff, which is kind of like what we do at the 13th. And the amount of people that you can reach is so small. There's only a certain amount of hours in the day, and that doesn't mean that there's not people who still could benefit from your services. So what Milo is a way for you to have a platform that can serve so many different people because you're not working with them exclusively in a one-on-one face-to-face setting. The virtual aspect of it allows you to work with so many more people at one time.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, are you guys? Do you you have a lot of virtual stuff, right? You have 2 days of regular, and then the other days are virtual.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's my old age, right? But do you guys ever get headaches from staring at the screens all the time?
Not really. I try to go in like segments where the most I would be on my computer would be like an hour. And so if I can do an hour, go get a snack, go get food, water, whatever, and then come back and finish anything. That's kind of how I've approached it. But I was looking at like the Felix Gray, like blue light glasses.
That's what I was just going to talk about, man.
Yeah.
That's why I was bringing this up. So I hope you guys are a little too young, maybe not, but ever since Amazon Prime became a thing where you can literally, you want it, you order it, you get it in 2 days. I've probably abused that privilege quite a bit. And the blue light blockers, man. So last week, after like 4 weeks of this virtual learning, and all PE, like we said, is all virtual, my head was just banging every single day. I'd come home and be like, oh my gosh. And I was telling my wife, I was like, I don't know if I'm having like little episodes or something going on here, but my head just hurts so bad. So I was talking to one of my students who was wearing these glasses during virtual lesson, and they had like this purplish pink hue. And I was like, what kind of glasses are those? Oh, these are blue light blockers. Why do you need those? Well, because I don't get headaches anymore. Order, right? Then, boom, order them. And they just came this morning. But I don't, and again, I'm 31. I used to think like, 30s is still kind of young, but my sense of style now compared to what it is for you guys and some of you younger folks is completely different. The options that they had for these blue light blocker glasses, the options that they had, it was 2-pack. So anytime you get a 2-pack, I'm like, all right, I'm in, right? Give me two for whatever it is, I'll do it. All black was one of the options. Can't go wrong with all black. The other options, clear, fully clear. Yeah, you're giggling, right?
Yeah.
Tortoise, the tortoise frames, it's like a brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like that.
Okay.
I have sunglasses like that. I think that looks really cool. But the tortoise ones, you could only get with like a yellow pair or something. So I was like, I don't want a yellow pair in this. So I was trying to find a 2-pack that I could see myself wearing both. Mm-hmm. And I ended up getting the clear and the black.
Nice.
Like that. Yeah, the clear and the black. The clear, I think that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for the clear.
So did you get them yet?
I got them. I wore them today during all my virtual meetings.
Nice. So have you been a glasses wearer in the past, or is that something fairly new?
I've never needed them.
Okay.
But I've worn them. I've worn them a ton. Yeah, I wore glasses. So I like big sunglasses. Not big metal frames, but I got Ray-Bans. I got a pair of Ray-Bans when I was in high school that I was like, oh, these are really, really cool. And then when I got to college, I got another pair for my birthday or something like that. So over the last, since high school, I've been, I don't want to say collecting, but I have probably 15 pairs of Ray-Bans.
That's
just
sweet.
All big plastic frames.
Yeah.
They're cool. And Cat 5000 is my favorite style of Ray-Ban. If you've never heard of it, check it out. They're pretty cool. But I have a pair of casual glasses with that frame too.
Okay.
Not prescription because I still have 20/20 vision.
Nice.
But yeah, I got lucky there. But I wear those around a lot. So I was hoping that my blue light blockers could look like those. Mm-hmm. They don't. They don't.
So do they have a tinted frame on them? Because I know some don't, and they're just like, they look like regular glasses.
So they're clear. It's a clear frame,
okay.
But that hue, that purple and pinkish,
it is
you can see it. It's
okay.
kind of like a fluorescent. Like what a bubble looks like. Like if you blow a bubble and it lands, it has that fluorescent kind of look. Mm-hmm. That's what they look like.
Dang.
You can't see it. It doesn't look like that when you're looking out them.
Yeah.
But when you if I move and you saw the lens, you'd be like, oh, what's going on there? You know right away it's blue light block.
Yeah.
Dang.
So
yeah, my mom has one of those pairs sitting next to the TV because when it's late and she just says when she gets tired and then watches TV, that's when she'll get headaches and stuff. So usually if it's 9 p.m. and we turn the TV on, that's when she'll grab her blue light glasses.
Does she think they help?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
That's awesome.
I might have to get a pair.
Hey, I know a guy who's got 2 pairs if you want to try a pair out. But yeah, I wore them today, and I'm a big believer in placebo effect, right? I always have been. If you believe it, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
So I wore them today for the first half of our virtual day, and it felt like money, man. My head was feeling great. So it's also virtual day is fun for me too because I'm home and I told you we have a little daughter who's 20. She's 22 months, so she turns 2 in November. But she's talking quite a bit, but glasses is one of her favorite words. Oh. So whenever I'm wearing glasses, she goes, "Daddy, glasses." It's nonstop. She can't stop saying glasses, and it sounds funny. I mean, if you guys ever been around little kids and listen to them talk, everything they say is funny, and it's been enjoyable to watch her learn. But yeah, glasses, man. If I'm wearing glasses, she'll let me know 100 times. Glasses. So yeah, it's a blast. So I love virtual day because I get to be home with her.
Yeah.
And then when you wear glasses, it's a completely different element, man. She loves that.
And you have to go in. I forget that you have to go into school still to do your virtual classes on the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Exactly.
So
really,
the Wednesday.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So every time I talk about this, I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining. That's not what I'm doing. So the reason we go in is because the core teachers, the teachers who have classes that are in person, they need breaks, right? They need to have their preps throughout the day. So the virtual teachers, me, PE, music, foreign language, I think is another one where they're all virtual. We teach our 5 virtual classes, and then we sub for the core teachers so that they can go on prep. That's why we're at school, right? We could do our classes from our house, but we have to be at school to give the core teachers a break. So I would say they're called minis at the middle school level, little study halls, mini 30-minute classes that gives the core teachers breaks.
I don't think we have that at the high school level.
I don't think so either.
That's weird.
I'm kind of smiling. I'm kind of grinning because I still talk to my former peers or my former colleagues. But yeah, I always am like, I've got bus duty in the morning, bus duty after school. I teach 5 virtual classes. I've got these 3 minis. I'm running all over the place. Are you doing that? Pause, right? So their schedule is much different than ours.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on, and we were so happy that you were able to hop on and talk with us for a few minutes, talk wrestling, talk a little bit about everything with us today. So
I appreciate it very much. So like I said, it's just cool to be around people who I've had in class before and people who I've worked with, and the amount of things that you guys are doing as high schoolers is just awesome. Right, the fact that you can have a studio like this and get together and have podcast episodes and just have different people on your show is just really, really cool. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on, and anytime you want to chat about anything, obviously I'm happy to do that. So thank you guys.
Thank you.